people buying a lot of silver. The premiums on the silver products for the ones that are even currently available. What do we have here? $5 over spot for a buffalo, $7.75 the cheapest sovereign for Cougarans. Junk silver, $11 over. So
Wow.
we're seeing a lot of silver come out of the exchange. We're seeing a lot of people buy silver. And do we know for sure that this number is going to continue to go down? I guess we can't say for sure what will happen, but add in what's going on with the Fed. And if conditions get easier there, or at least the market perceives it as some form of a pivot, it's really been interesting to see this drawdown, and you wonder where the metal is going to continue to come from, because a lot of the wholesalers and retailers are finding it harder to get product increasingly.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and we're watching it closely. I don't know what the end result of all this is. The fact that the inventory is leaving both COMEX and LBMA, there used to be some sort of arbitrage between the two where it might be declining in one and go into the other, right? There was some back and forth there. But the fact that they're both in severe decline tells you that the market's probably in deficit, meaning the industrial demand and the investment demand to take it physically off the table is higher than what's coming out of the mines.
Yeah.
Global mine production is around 800 million ounces, and the speculation is there's probably a deficit on the order of 20 to 30 million ounces per month that the mines are not able to meet, and that's got to come from somewhere. So the theory is it's coming out of the COMEX and LBMA vaults, because that's the easiest place to go grab 999,000 ounce bars. So who knows? We're watching it closely. I'm sure we'll keep talking about it for the next 6 months, and I think people will really start getting interested I think the low in the registered category, here, let me get back on that for COMEX. The low in the registered was 23 million ounces back in 2016, right around that number. If we break below 20 million ounces,
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
in registered on the COMEX, I think a lot of people are going to wake up to oh my God, this could really go to zero, right? If they don't start seeing a serious uptick in registered in the next 3 months or so, people are going to be wondering.
I mean, that's basically 7,000 COMEX contracts at this point. And we had 3 delivery months this year where one was 6,800, one was 10,500, another one was over 9,000. We have December coming up, so we'll see what happens, which by all means, to be clear, is not to say that COMEX is getting cleared out in December, but
Right.
you wonder if there's some acceleration as more and more people start to pay attention to this. I think for a long time it was perhaps folks like you and I and people who are really into silver that were looking at it, yet I mean, it's getting on the low side. And you were mentioning before, well, where is it going? We know one place it's going, which is India, which some of the numbers that they've imported over the past couple months have been rather stunning.
Yeah.
Back in July was 1,800 tons.
Wow.
Down to about 1,100 or 1,200 tons in August, and then they just put up another 1,700 number in September, which leaves them at about 8,200 tons with 3 months to go. Their record was 8,500 tons back in 2016, and certainly seems like a lot of the places in the East are happy to take the metal at the lower prices. I was reading Turkey, in addition to importing gold, their September number was almost double what it was last year.
Wow.
God only knows how much silver is being pulled into China. We don't really get easily accessible figures there, but we're seeing a drain of the metal, and at the same time now seeing increased demand out of retail in the US. So I get it. It's a tough time for some people who are looking at silver. They see the spot price around 1950. It was interesting on that Fed announcement, jumps up to $20 then for about 10 seconds, then drops back down to 1950. So we see how the thing is priced in the COMEX, yet if that COMEX inventory keeps going down and you have 1 or 2 big delivery months, I mean, how do you still set the price there if there's no silver available for delivery?
Yeah, that's a big question. India, I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but if just off the top of my head, they're basically consuming roughly 1/3 of global mine production at this point. Is that roughly accurate based on their import numbers?
They're on pace for just under 11,000 tons this year, which comes out to 350 million ounces.
And we only produce 800. So well above 40% of global mine production is going to India. And part of it is that's how they save, right? They don't really trust their own currency. They don't have access to dollars. So it's just cultural for people in India to save silver. And it's cultural in China for people to save gold. It's just, the metals that, their cultures are inclined to purchase and store for emergencies. And Rick Rule once told me the price of silver often depends on how the harvest went in India. Because if there's a really bad harvest, then everyone goes to their savings to get through the year, and a lot of physical silver all of a sudden appears on the market. India stops importing silver because now the retailers and are flooded with silver coming out from underneath the bed or being dug out of their dug out of their backyard or wherever it is they stash it.
Their nearest lake.
They go diving. I don't know how much scuba diving is going on in India, but wherever it is they put it, all of a sudden it comes out of the woodworks and floods the market if they have a bad harvest. And Rick Rule made the point. Sometimes silver drops, and people are wondering what's happened, and they're not really putting those two factors together. That poor harvest in India was the reason so much physical silver came on the market. So. Just something to keep in mind for anyone who really cares about these subjects. Those things matter.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. I've talked with Rick before about that as well, where, it's really a muddy supply and demand picture, especially you have a lot of the silver coming from copper, lead, and zinc miners, so it's not as straightforward. And any of these trends, it's possible we could see metal added to registered, or India could slow down. But just one other thing I'd like to add to that, people wonder, well, at a higher price, do we see more silver come back on the market? And I think that's a fair thought, although I would imagine the average stacker, if he hit $25 an ounce, isn't going to be rushing out to sell. I'll bet there's some people who are feeling pretty beat up that if you get to $30 an ounce, they might want to break even. But You guys remember, you were at the heart of it back during Silver Squeeze. We got over $30 for a couple of hours, and they had Michael Whitmire from JM Bullion was on CNBC. And what happens to the demand if you break through 30 and people start to notice it? Does mainstream interest come in? I think, again, been a large part at raising awareness of silver in general. And if that becomes a story, I would imagine there's people that might be cashing out some of their silver. Maybe some eligible silver goes on into registered yet. I would think I still see 30 as that line in the sand where if it gets over there, you're going to see a lot of people paying attention to it.
Inventory in the past 18 months, inventory levels in those vaults has declined by so much that my guess is if we hit 30 again, they don't have the flexibility or the firepower in ounces in the vaults to do the same thing they did 18 months ago. So my guess is if we get up to 30 again in 2023, we're going to break through and just shoot higher.